Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Internet Marketing call. It's a call we do every month for Craig's coaching members. So usually it's the second Monday of every month. And today I've got Christy Filion also from Success Website on the line. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
We don't have Craig or James joining us today. I believe they're all traveling to Anaheim for the big super conference later this week. So safe travels for them. And so we're on our own today. For anyone that is going to the super conference, we are once again booking live success strategy sessions. These are one-on-one sessions where you can sit down with Christy or someone from our team. Go through your website, go through what you're doing, and come up with a plan, I guess, to help you do things better. If you want to book one of these sessions, I guess Christy's got a link live on the screen there. If you go to successwebsite.com/live consultation, you'll see the page that Christy has up, and you can book your strategy session. What do you typically do in those sessions, Christy?
We will spend some one-on-one time with you to go through various things. Usually it's related to either lead follow-up, your campaigns. It could be just sort of showing you how to do basic things in the command center. So when you are filling out the form here, you'll have the chance to choose a session topic. And you can certainly do that if there's something that you really want to kind of dive into during the session. But quite often we will sort of just sit down with you and determine, what it is that you really need help with, because sometimes it's just knowing where to start is sort of the big hang up that people have. And something as simple as showing you, how to forward a domain name, or how to use My Leads could at least give you a starting point. So you can choose specific topics, but even if you're not sure what you want to talk about, I strongly encourage everyone to book a session, because at least it'll give you an opportunity to spend some time looking at your success site, and you will learn something. So please take advantage of that. And we of course love to see all of our clients face-to-face and spend some time with you.
Okay, and I think that's important. I think one of the things that we do get really good feedback on from the super conferences is the opportunity to sit down and look at your site and step back for a few minutes and come up with a plan to how to get it working better, how to make it look the way you want, all the things you can do to make it work. So again, it's successwebsite.com/live consultation. These sessions do book up, and again, you should put your cell phone number in there. We use that to send you a text reminder of the time, and if there's any delays or things, we'll let you know. So, okay, well that's great. So
Perfect.
On today's call, I know Christy wanted to talk about Google AdWords. And so we're going to go through that. Hopefully that'll take, how long do you think that'll be, Christy?
I think this will take us probably through the bulk of the call. It's a fairly large topic, and it often leads to lots of different questions.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through a little presentation here that I put together for everybody. Can you see the slides up there now, Steve, on my screen?
I could until it's actually just switched off to the title screen. So
it's in presentation mode, I believe.
It is. I'm not seeing your slides. No, I'm not seeing.
Oh, you're not seeing the slides. Okay, sorry. Let me just make sure that I've got the right view here. Okay. Do you see the slides now?
I cannot.
Okay, maybe let's see if I open up my whole screen, my main screen.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I'll look at that. I got a couple questions here I can try to address. I've got one from Adele. Doesn't understand all of her website addresses. Do they all go to one of your sites? Branded, unbranded? I can see your screen now.
Okay, perfect.
Do they all go to one of your websites, i.e. branded or unbranded? Do we need to get more than 2 websites? How do all the domain names work? Is effectively what the question is. Okay, well, I guess the simple answer to that is you can register as many domain names as you want. All those domain names can then be pointed to a specific page within either your branded or your unbranded site. Usually we do that to enable tracking. So if we're going to run some ads, as Christy's going to show you, if you're running offline ads, the only way you get the tracking of that, people are going to type in a domain name into their browser, and that domain name will go through the Track My Success. It will basically, so we know where they came from, and then it will redirect to the specific landing page or whatever campaign you're running. So I hope that answers the question. But the idea is that we're using domain names for tracking. Each of your branded site obviously will have a domain name like craigproctorsite.com. Your unbranded domain as well, York Region Home Sales or yorkregionhomeinfo.com as examples. But you can have all these other domain names specifically for individual campaigns. Now, when you run online ads, as Christy's going to talk about today with Google AdWords, we don't necessarily need to register a domain name for each of our ads because the tracking can be built right into the ad, and I'm sure Christy may be able to talk to that in a little bit. So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, let us know through the chat, and we'll see if we can follow up on that later.
Okay, yeah, great, because you certainly don't want to have all your domain names pointing to your home page. The idea is to have them going to specific landing pages and making sure that your ad really matches the landing page. So we're going to get into that a little bit here with the AdWords presentation. So I'm just going to leave the view like this just because I'm worried that you're going to lose sight of my screen if I go into presentation mode here. So let me know if you lose the visual there, Steve, but I think we'll be okay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the 80-20 principle. This is something that I've really been thinking a lot about in the last 6 to 12 months. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, it's also called the Pareto principle. And it's the idea that in most cases, in many events in life, 80% of the effects come from 20% of the cause. So just to put this into perspective, in your marketplace, you probably find that 80% of the listings get sold by 20% of the agents. So we've noticed this as well in our marketing, and especially when it comes to the leads coming through the Success website. So, if we were to zoom out and look at all the leads that have come through our sites in the past 10, 12 years, Steve, where do you think 80% of those leads have come from?
I would say 80% of the leads have come from probably Google AdWords doing probably foreclosures.
Yes, exactly. So because we've observed this, we do spend a lot of time focusing on Google AdWords. And it's really important to recognize this because I think that there are some common misconceptions when it comes to AdWords. I think there's a lot of apprehension just because it is a very large, beastie advertising platform. There's a lot of options. Some people have definitely been burned by it, maybe kind of set something up on their own, spent a lot of money, didn't get a lot of results. So I do want to take a deep dive into this and sort of through my thought process so you can all understand, what it is that we do, when we're setting up your campaigns. and why we set them up this way. And it all comes back to the 80-20. So I'm going to start with this little diagram here. This is a tactical triangle. And if you look at the way this triangle is structured, we've got kind of three segments here. The T for traffic, C is for conversion, E is for economics. Now you can, often we start with the T, with the traffic, we move into conversions, and then comes the economics, right? So if you can imagine, we need to get traffic to our landing page. We need to get people to sign up on our landing page. We need to make money from those leads and convert those leads, right? So that's sort of a very basic way of looking at it. But you can also start with economics and how economics leads into the traffic and how the traffic ultimately leads to conversion. So this is a rotating cycle, and it really captures the 80-20 principle as well, because these are the things that we really need to focus on when we are marketing. And just to sort of unpack this for you a little bit, let's say, for instance, you're spending $10 a day on Google Ads. Okay, so you're spending $10 a day to get some traffic to your website, to get enough traffic to convert at least one lead. Okay, so that's $10 for one lead. Now, let's multiply that by 30. All right, so we've got 30 leads coming in for the month at $300. Okay, so $10 a day, $300 a month equals roughly 30 leads. Now, if we can convert just one of those leads, think about the economics of that. Okay, so out of the 30 leads coming through your website, if you can convert one lead, get one deal from those 30, what is that worth to you? Right? You're looking at $10,000 commission, $14,000. Now, I understand you've got your fees, you've got your marketing costs, but even when you combine your marketing fees, okay, so let's say you're spending $300 on Google, and you combine that with your web hosting fees and, say, management fees with a success website. So that could be anywhere between $300, $400. So you're looking at around $700 for the month. Now, if you can convert one of those leads and turn that into, a $10,000, $14,000 commission, I mean, that's a huge return on your investment. So if you can do that month after month, you can see how the economics completely make sense here. And that's why I try to put this into perspective for everybody, because, everyone gets nervous about spending money. You're nervous about spending $10 a day. You're nervous about spending $1.50 per click or $2 per click. But when you look at it this way and think about how cheap this traffic really is and how targeted these people are, and we'll get into Google and why it's such a powerful media outlet, it's hard to deny why this is ultimately going to probably generate 80% of your leads and potentially your income. Okay, so I just want you to all think about that, let that stew a little bit, and we'll sort of break it down even more. So we can even break this down into how Google Ads work. Okay, so the tactical triangle for Google Ads. So if we look at the traffic, and this is generally like people who see your ads on Google, right? So people who see your ad when they're doing a search on Google. And then we get into conversion, and the ad copy and the clicks that it attracts. And then into the economics, which is the bid price and the cost per click. So you can take every aspect of Google and break it down into this tactical triangle until you are really zoomed in on the most effective campaigns, the most effective ads, the most effective keywords right? When we are optimizing and managing your account, we are focusing on the most effective keywords. Okay, we get down to that level. Okay, so just for those of you, I mean, I understand some of you may be sort of lost here, and I hope that you're able to follow along with me here. But like Google, for instance, as you can see on the screenshot, it is a huge resource tool, right? People go into Google every day. Millions and millions of users go into Google. They search for homes for sale. They search for distressed sales. They search for foreclosures. They search for all sorts of things. So this screenshot represents what a typical search results page would look like if someone were, and this is actually a live screenshot, right? So I didn't cut and paste this stuff together. This is actually taken from Google when I did a search for Vaughan distress sales. Okay, so Vaughan is sort of a small suburb in Toronto, right? So most home buyers are going to be looking for specific areas, and they're going to be looking for listings. Okay, so that's one thing that you really have to be clear on, is that the majority of leads that you get from Google are going to be buyer leads, because most of these people are looking for homes. They're looking for real estate. So we can't deny that, that 80% of these people are looking for homes, right? So the keyword triggers these ads to show. So all of these ads these are success website ads. These are ads that we've set up, and they're very specific to the keyword, and they're at the very top of the search results page. So because they're at the very top, because they get a lot of visibility, because they're offering a unique offer that is compelling to the prospect, people are going to click on them. And when they click on them, they go to your landing page. And when they click on those ads, that's when you get charged by Google. Okay, that's when you get charged the $1, the $1.50, the $2 maybe for that click. Okay, so your daily budget is going towards allowing as many people to click on your ads and go to your landing page as possible. Here's another example. Yeah.
I was just going to get to other examples. So the initial example was you've run an ad targeting the foreclosures campaign,
right.
fixer-uppers, etc. But we have had a bunch of other questions leading into that as to what other types of things could you target? Like how would you target, for example, condos?
Mm-hmm. So in this case, we're targeting new construction, buyers who are looking for new construction. So if you wanted to go after, say, first-time home buyers, say you're looking for buyers who are looking for condos. My next question would be, are they first-time home buyers or are they empty nesters? Or could they be both, right? Like, you have to start asking, who is your target audience? Now, I would probably guess that the majority of people looking for condos online are first-time home buyers, just because maybe the older demographic perhaps doesn't use Google as much, even though I think that's changing. But I would say that you're probably going after the first-time home buyer crowd on Google if you're offering like a hot list of condos and townhomes. So you can do that as well, right? We have seen a ton of leads. Probably the majority of the leads coming through our system have been for the foreclosure distress. And as much as you'd like to think that it's not effective because it generates maybe lower quality leads, or because there are no foreclosures in your area, there's lots of reasons why our clients don't necessarily like the foreclosure campaign. But I would say, and I would challenge you to kind of put yourself in the shoes of your prospects. Now, you may not like foreclosures, right? You may not like the idea of promoting foreclosures, but it's undeniable that people online are interested in them. They're interested in the opportunity to get a deal. And the way you follow up with those leads is ultimately going to be what determines how successful that campaign is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
but
so
you
just,
could, I guess the trick, just to sort of follow up on that, you can customize these, just about any of these ads to target a specific. So instead of doing Bellevue new homes, you could do Bellevue condos, free list of condos starting at $350K.
yeah.
And there's lots of ways to do that. So if that's what your specific target is, you might also do a hot list of condo deals. People looking, again, trying to play off the foreclosure, or the people that are looking for a closure typically they're just looking for a deal. So anything you can get to make things to persuade that sort of deal concept, the better you're going to do.
I think so. Yeah, I think that, especially when you're competing against other advertisers, the more compelling your offer is, the better. And, it's a numbers game. So if you've got one campaign that generates, twice the number of leads for half the cost, wouldn't it make sense to run that campaign? But we do have other options, and we absolutely will set up different types of ads for different types of homes. So this one is new construction. You can do hot list of condos and townhomes for first-time home buyers. We've definitely had success with that one as well. We've even gone as specific as a hot list of bungalows with basement apartments. Right, so you can really try to tap into a very specific niche market with your Google ads, but you also have to think, like, is the majority of your buyers online looking for that? Probably not. You're going after a much smaller segment. Now you may get higher quality leads from it, but in the end, you really have to look at your conversion rates, how many of these leads you're converting, how many appointments you're getting from them, how many deals, and then decide, like, do the economics make sense for this particular?
We've had a couple people asking, sort of, what determines how many clicks the ads, like how your budget gets drawn down, how much the ads cost. Maybe you could just sort of explain how that works.
Sure.
Effectively, it's an auction, but
yeah, it's an auction. Google has some algorithms. Sometimes they look at sort of the quality of your landing page and how it matches up with the ad, and they'll maybe give you a higher placement for a lower cost. So sometimes Google has its own little shortcuts to kind of get a lower cost per click, but on average you are bidding, right? And you're bidding on specific keywords. So if I go back to this slide, like, the keyword that triggered these ads to show was Vaughan distress sales. Now, the real trick when it comes to Google is to find that 20% of search terms that generate 80% of your leads, and to really focus on those search terms. And if you find that keyword is converting at a high percentage, you want to make sure that you are investing in that particular keyword, right? So I don't like to give all keywords the same bid, because some keywords are going to perform way better than others. And in fact, I may choose to get rid of a bunch of keywords just because they're getting clicks and they're not getting leads.
What you might find is that if you think about this as an auction, okay, so if we're in Vaughan, there may be 100 agents in Vaughan doing Google AdWords or putting up keywords for the area for Vaughan. And we know that nearly all 100 of those are likely to be bidding on terms like Vaughan real estate, Vaughan homes for sale. And what happens in an auction when you've got a lot of people bidding on something? well, you drive the price up. So typically the Vaughan real estate keyword, it might have a $5 or $6 per click for that keyword. Now, if you've only got a $10 a day budget, that means you're only going to get 1 or 2 clicks, 1 or 2 visits to your site per day from that ad campaign. Now, what we're trying to do by using Vaughan distress sales is it's a keyword that probably only a few of the 100 agents in Vaughan are bidding on that term, and hopefully you're the only one. And in that case, we're hoping to get a much lower cost per click, say $1 maybe, where now you're going to get 2 visitors to your site for your $10 per day. So that's the sort of math that goes into the auction. Now Google will, as I said, will move it up and down. Ads that get clicked on tend to get higher up, get shown higher, just because Google makes more money if you click on your ads. So they tweak it a little bit, but effectively it's an auction for the best position.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it.
And remember, a lot of this, Christy or someone on our team can manage and set up for you, so you don't have to worry about picking what the best keywords are. Christy has got all that set up. If you decide who you want to target, we can help you identify what the best keywords are to target, in this case, Vaughan distress sales, or Vaughan foreclosures, or Vaughan whatever that is.
Right. And once you start to kind of start looking for the right things, you find that it's easier to sort of make decisions when it comes to AdWords and what the right thing to do is. So what I'd like to do is really going to get into AdWords and what we do when we set up a campaign, and hopefully it'll give you all at least an introduction into how to properly set up a campaign and what we look for when we are optimizing, analyzing, and managing your Google AdWords. So I'm going to get into that, Steve. Was there any other kind of questions that we should address before we take everybody into AdWords?
I've been passing them on in the course of the conversation. We don't have any outstanding right now, so I'll let you know.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm going to see if I can do sort of a split.
It's been very clear today, so.
Oh, good. That was my goal for today, actually, to communicate clearly. All right, so let's hope. I'm hoping that I can have a sort of a split screen set up here, but I might struggle with that a bit. All right, so in this PowerPoint, I've got some checklists. Now, I've become a huge fan of checklists. In fact, I'm starting to create checklists for my kids and what they need to do in the morning. Like, it's getting a little obsessive. But I think that in general, it's a great tool to keep you on track. I think that we all have certain levels of complexity when it comes to our daily tasks and what we have to do. I know that lots of you on the call today, having these websites, having to think about internet marketing, sometimes it's just like completely overwhelming. So I'd like to kind of give you all as many checklists as possible to kind of guide you, keep you on track. So this one is for campaign setup, and I'm going to also get into Google here and sort of take you through this. So you can see, sort of watch over my shoulder as I'm setting up a campaign, a typical campaign. All right, so let's take a look first at an active campaign here. This is Masood Badre. He's in the Ottawa area, and we've been managing his account for a while now. So I'm not going to get too detailed here with all of the metrics because there's lots of data that we could dive into. But the one thing I want to draw everyone's attention to, and this is really what we're looking at when we're in the campaign, and that is, let's see if I can get some sort of pointer or something here. Nope, it's not going to let me do that. Okay, so that is this number, the conversions. Okay, conversions are the leads that have been generated from this campaign. So in the last 30 days, if we look at the last 30-day period here, we've had 118 leads from this foreclosure distress sale campaign. Now, the cost per lead has averaged at about $13, $13.17 per lead to be exact. And our conversion rate is 9.31%. So the conversion rate, I would say anything above 7% is a good Google AdWords conversion rate. So I'm happy with the conversion rate. What I'm not particularly happy with is the cost per lead. But we'll get into that and how to optimize that. Okay, so that was just sort of a quick summary of some of the metrics you really want to pay close attention to when you are in the AdWords campaign. But before you can even look at metrics, you have to actually have a campaign, right? So I'm going to take you through setting up a campaign. This is assuming that you already have an account set up within Google. Okay, we've already set you up with an account. You've got your credit card information in there. You're ready to go. All we need is a campaign, okay? So go back to the checklist here. First step, determine your goal. What is the goal of this campaign? Is it to generate leads? Is it to generate phone calls, brand awareness? These are all things that people do on Google AdWords. Now, our goal typically is to generate leads, right? So that goal is going to determine what type of campaign you set up, and we're going to be setting up a campaign to help generate leads. Second step is to select your landing page. Now, this is really important because quite often people sort of dive right in to setting up ads, you know, whether it be in Google or Facebook or Craigslist or Kijiji or whatever, and they haven't even thought about the landing page that they're going to be driving these ads to. So before we even get into Google, we need to select our landing page. Now, in this case, for this campaign, the foreclosure distress, we have a landing page that is already set up. Okay, this is for Canada actually, which is a smaller area in Ottawa. So this is Canada Distress Sales Bank Foreclosures Hot List, $350,000 and up. So that's great. Okay, we have the landing page that we want. So first step is to get in here and create a tracking URL. So Adele, at the top of the call, she was asking about tracking domain names and where these domain names should be pointed. Should they go into the home page? Should they be going to landing pages? So the domain names that you register for your campaigns should always be going to landing pages. Now with Google, you don't need a specific domain name. In fact, they want you to use your primary domain name only. Which means we don't need specific domain names for Google, but what we do need is a very specific tracking code, a tracking URL. So the first place to start, and this would be sort of a separate checklist on its own, setting up a tracking URL, but the first place to start would be My Campaigns. So in My Campaigns, we want to create an ad. Now, creating the ad is really just a matter of choosing your media outlet, giving the ad a title, so we could say Google foreclosure distress ad. We'll choose a TMS code. So let's say I'm going to choose G underscore as my prefix for this. So there's my TMS code. Target website, we want to choose the unbranded. I believe that is this one. And then we choose our landing page. Okay, so you've got your list of landing pages here that you can choose. And make sure you choose the right one, of course. You can click on the URL here to just double check, make sure that that is the correct landing page. Looks good. save this, and this is the URL. Okay, this is the URL that you are going to be using in your Google ad because it goes to the right landing page. So we already have that part figured out. We already know the landing page that we're going to be driving traffic to, and we've already got our tracking URL. So if we go back to our checklist here, now we're ready to get into AdWords and click on Create Campaign. So the Create Campaign, the campaign button is right here within the AdWords interface. Click on that, and it's going to give you some options. Make sure you choose the search network only. Search network only is essentially where you want to be because we want our ads to show up when people are searching for keywords. Okay, we don't necessarily want to use the display network for our ad impressions. We want our ads to show only for the search network. Okay, so we choose the search network, and I've got that in the checklist here. Next step would be choose standard campaign and then name your campaign. So standard is already selected here. So these are just things that can completely stall people when they're trying to set up their campaigns. And you know, for some of you, you may be thinking like, there's no way that I'm ever going to do this. I'll just have you guys do it, and that's perfectly fine too. We definitely are here to set all this stuff up for you. There's no question there that we can do this for you. But I also know that some of you really need to understand how these things are set up. Okay, so that this presentation is for you guys who really need to understand how we set these things up so you feel like you have more control over things, right? Okay, so campaign name, let's just call it Ottawa foreclosures. Now, as we go down the list here, it's going to give us some other options. So networks, you can choose different networks. Google Search Network is fine. Search Partners is fine. That's all fine by default. Devices. Ads will show on all eligible devices by default. You can leave this as it is. That's fine to start because you will find that you do get some traffic from mobile devices. You'll find that you get some traffic from tablets. We don't want to limit ourselves too much in the beginning, so I would leave devices as is. Now, locations is important. Locations is essentially the target area. This is our geo-targeting. So you want to make sure that you're not showing your ads in all of Canada. You want, or all of the US, or all countries and territories. You want to choose your location. And you can be area specific, like say for instance I choose Ottawa. So Ottawa, which is the first match that comes up here, this is in Ontario in Canada, and you can see here that our reach is 720,000. This is a good number, and I have this in the checklist as well. So when you are choosing your location, make sure your reach is above 500,000. Anything below 500,000 and you are really limiting yourself, you could quite likely not get in front of enough people to generate enough traffic to your site. So try to make sure that your reach is above 500. If you need to expand your area, if you need to add additional areas, you can do that. So if I wanted to add, say, Canada, for instance, here, which is a really small area, right? Our reach is only about 60,000. But once I start building up and layering my neighborhoods, my reach starts to expand, and it's still very targeted, but I'm going to get enough eyeballs on my ads to get traffic. So this part is really important. You want to make sure the location is correct and it's not too limiting. So now we get into our languages. You can be specific in your language. I think English is the default at all times. That's fine. If you are in Quebec, you can choose French if you like. We do have French campaigns for our French-speaking clients, so that's an option as well. Now, your bid strategy, this is sort of what a couple of you were asking about before. What should your bids be? And I usually recommend a default bid of $1.50. Sometimes we start at $1, depending on the area that we're targeting. I think that any major city center is you're probably looking at about $1.50 minimum as default. So I would set that as default. And then we have our daily budget, and I usually start with $10 a day as a minimum. The account that I was looking at before, he's paying around $60 per day, but that's not where everyone wants to start. So $10 a day is a fair budget. And then we get into ad extensions. Ad extensions are they're interesting. It's an interesting feature that we've experimented a little bit with, but it is more of an advanced feature. So unless you really know what you're doing, I would avoid this altogether, and then just go ahead and hit save and continue. Okay, so that took us through our campaign setup checklist. Now if we get into the ad group checklist, this is now within the campaign. We're going to set up an ad group, and we often set up our ad groups based on the area or the neighborhood that we're targeting. So in this case, we're going to just use Ottawa as the main area, but you'll note, the first thing that they want is a landing page. Enter your landing page. So this is something you could check off and say my landing page is not ready, and that's fine. You could put in your landing page here, go back to our tracking code, and what Google will do is they'll actually kind of put together some keywords for you, which is a nice feature that they have here. Sometimes I find that it's totally off base. Like for instance, they've got Florida here in the area, they've got New Jersey, they've got Pennsylvania, all these areas that we have no interest in targeting, right? So you can take some of their recommendations, but be very careful, especially when it comes to the bids that they recommend and the budgets that they recommend. A lot of that is really just rough estimates, and you do not have to follow that, right? You don't have to follow their their recommended bids, which in some cases are way over what you need to be bidding. So this is an option that you can choose, or you could just say my landing page isn't ready and sort of get into the ad creation part. So creating the ad is really about using the copy on your landing page. You don't have to be fancy, especially when it comes to Google headlines. They like the headline to be very specific to the keywords that you're using, to your landing page. So you don't want to be too fancy with your headlines. But first and foremost, you have to give your ad group a name. So we'll just say this is Ottawa foreclosure hot list. It's going to ask for some keywords, and we can start adding, some keywords here. Okay, so here are some basic keywords. Now, you may want to do a little bit of research about match types, keyword match types, right? So there are different types of keywords you can use. Any keyword that has quotations around it like this, okay, that is a phrase match keyword. Any keyword that has brackets around it like this, that is an exact match keyword. And then any keyword or search phrase that has nothing around it, that is called a broad match keyword. So that's going to capture more impressions just because it is broad match, whereas these two will capture less impressions, but you might get a higher click-through rate. So in the checklist here, I did place a link to look up different match types, because you'll want to familiarize yourself with the different match types for your keywords. Okay, so we've got our ad group here, and what I'm also going to do is put these keywords in here, but maybe add Ottawa in some of these search terms. Okay, so let's say we've got that. And sometimes Google will also recommend you set up all these different ad groups. I don't like doing that either. I like to keep my ad groups very minimal. And I agree with the idea that you shouldn't have, too many keywords. But I also have found that using their recommendations for grouped ad groups and themes and things is not particularly effective. So I would just stick with one ad group, choose some relevant keywords in there, and then you can go ahead and continue to ads. So here we've got the spot where we're creating the ad. So if I get into this, it's going to ask for the final URL. So that is, again, the tracking URL here that we use for the campaign. And now we are writing the ad. So if we go to our landing page, you can take the headline directly from your landing page and put it in your ad. Now, I would definitely use the area name in the headline. We always use the area name in our headlines. And then the offer. So Ottawa distress sales. You can try Ottawa foreclosures, Ottawa foreclosure sales. It's important to always be testing different ad copy. But just to start, you want to keep it consistent with the landing page. Now, this is the domain name that's going to show on the ad, and that's fine. As I mentioned before, this needs to be your primary domain name in most cases, so we don't want to put in other URL forwards or other domain names that you've registered. Keep it simple, keep it to your primary. It's the final URL that contains the landing page and the tracking code, which is here. And for ad description, again, you can go back to your landing page and take some of this copy. So let's say, what if I just copy this, get in here. So it's going to give me kind of an alert that I'm going beyond my character limit. But if I break this down, okay, so now we've got our ad. Now you can add exclamation points, you can add some punctuation, you can capitalize certain letters in your ads. That does sometimes make the ad more effective, some strategic capitalization, but there are rules as well. You don't want to have excessive capitalization, you don't want to have excessive punctuation, repetitive punctuation, unnecessary symbols. All of these things can cause Google to disapprove your ad. So just be aware of that. And you can also choose mobile to be your device preference. I would leave that unchecked for now because yeah, you're not in a stage yet where you're just creating ads for mobile. So now we can hit save. And we've got our ad. We can review the campaign. We can review all the changes we've made, or we can hit save and finish. So there you have it. You've created your own campaign, you've created your ad group, and you've got your keywords in there. Now, there is one final step that I wanted to show everyone, because this is really important, especially if you want the proper tracking and conversion tracking set up for your ads. This is a pretty quick step, but it's really important. So once you've created your campaign here, up in the Tools menu, in Tools, make sure you go to Conversions and create a conversion tracking code. This is what allows us to properly assess how effective your keywords are, how much you're paying, what your cost per lead is, what your conversion rate is, all that really important stuff that we need to know. So it's not complicated creating a conversion, and the checklist will certainly help you with that. But when you go in, it's going to give you some options here for the conversions you want to track. Make sure you choose website, because we're tracking leads. Give your conversion tracking code a name, like buyer leads, for instance. And then it's going to take you through some steps here. You can leave most of these as they are. The one thing that you want to change is the count. We don't want to be counting all conversions, because when people come through the website, sometimes they perform multiple actions. They may fill out the profile update. They may submit their information a couple of times. We want to track the unique conversions, not all. Okay, the unique ones will give us a better read on what our conversion rate is and what our cost per lead is. So once you choose unique, the only other thing you might want to choose is the category. Make sure that's a lead. You hit done, and then you hit save and continue. Oh yeah, it's going to ask for a value. I usually don't assign a value to the conversion. I mean, you could do this, assign a value type. This definitely works in e-commerce situations, but I choose don't assign a value for this one. And then you hit save and continue. And I think I already created a conversion, so buyer leads online. And then once you hit save and continue, you are going to get this tag, okay? Don't worry about installing this. What you want to do is hit this email instructions and tag, and make sure that goes to PPC support at successwebsite.com. You can put your name in here. You can put the name of the campaign that you want to add this to. You can follow up with us, but don't try to install it yourself. Just send it to us, and then we can install it for you to make sure it's in there.
Okay, Christy, we've only got about 5 more minutes left, and I know we've covered a lot of stuff here. Got a few questions that I think would probably make sense to wrap up here.
Yeah.
The first question is, a lot of people really like your checklists and are wondering how they can get a copy of them.
Yep. I was trying to think of the best place to put that this morning. What I'd like everyone to do is, if you go to successwebcare.com, this is sort of our support center for our clients and our members. So we've got a knowledge base here, and you'll see in the bottom left corner it says knowledge base. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these checklists and I'm going to put it into the knowledge base, and everyone will be able to access them from here. So that's what I'm going to do for now. I mean, it may not be the ultimate place that they end up, but I think it's important for people to start using the Success Web Care as sort of a resource center. And you'll see that we've got already some articles in here to help you get started with things. Like we even have a Get Started checklist. So I'll be adding these checklists to this Success Web Care site, and you'll all have access to them there. So you'll have to give me like an hour or so, and I'll get them in there for everybody.
Okay, so I've got so they'll be able to access it directly there. Okay, that's great. There's 2 or 3 people who've already sent me their email address for that, but we'll pass that on. Okay, second question was, is the call being recorded? And the answer to that is yes. I believe Craig's office records all of these, and they're typically available on the coaching site in about, takes them 4 or 5 hours before they'll get up there. So I guess they have to be reprocessed and put into a state that you can listen to them. So, so that will be there shortly. Let's see what the next question was here. Oh, there's people saying, a lot of people are saying, okay, if it's great to know how to do the ads, but can you just do this for us? And I think the simple answer to that is yes, and maybe you can just explain how that works.
Absolutely. So as part of our onboarding process with all of our new clients, we offer to do this for you, set you up with an account for free. Now, we do have a management program that you can all take advantage of. I know that many of you on the call have already been on the program for quite some time. This is the done-for-you Google and Facebook PPC management. So we will make sure all your campaigns are set up, do all of the keyword monitoring, do all of your bid updates, do all of the tracking URLs, all this stuff. We follow our own checklists all the time. We'll be doing all this stuff for you and kind of check in with you on a monthly basis to make sure you know what's going on with your account. So if you are interested in having us take care of this for you, then what I'll do is I'll put a link to this page in the chat section as well. And what you can do is, even if you're not sure, even if you just want to get more information on the program, fill out the form on this page and we'll contact you and sort of take you through a strategy session to figure out what the best route for you is. What type of campaign we need to set up, how to get the best, effect from the least or the fewest costs, I guess, how to get your 80-20 going, and basically talk to you first. So if you're just slightly interested in the program, if you want to learn more about it, you've got to fill out the form on this page. We'll be in contact with you, and that way you'll at least know, even though you have a sense and you kind of know how it works, you can go in there and look at things and be educated. You don't have to have that on your plate. You know it's being taken care of. So I know that's where a lot of you are at, because I think you all realize that that your time is better spent doing other things, like following up on your leads.
Okay, so I've got one more question, then we'll wrap it up. I think this is a good one to sort of wrap up on. Let me just. Oh, I lost it here. Lots of good questions. This is from Bertrand. Hi, Christy and Steve. I just started last Friday the Google AdWords campaign with you. I have 5 leads on the weekend. Can you give me an idea what a good cost per lead is or a good conversion rate is? I know you've mentioned that already, Christy, but
sure.
And should I send the list before I talk to the lead or after? Thanks, you're doing a great job.
Okay, well, first and foremost, glad to hear you got some leads over the weekend. That's awesome. I mean, that's another thing with Google. It's like it starts working right away, usually. Great conversion rate is 7%. Anything above 7% conversion rate is good. And I think that in many cases we can get you to 10%, 15% once we really start working on your campaigns. As far as cost per lead goes, I try to get leads down to $10 if I can. Sometimes the market is so competitive that we may be hovering around $12, $13 a lead. But again, if we have the time to really work on it and tweak it and hone it, we can quite often find ways to just focus on those high converting keywords, those high converting ads, and bring our cost per lead down to $10. So those are the benchmarks that we work from. As far as the follow-up is concerned, I would say that a good rule is to try to follow up as quickly as you can. So if you can get on the phone and call them within 5 to 10 minutes, try to do that. If you can't, then I would send them something, send them a list, because that's what they're expecting, right? And if you have the HDX, they should already be getting access to some property, right away. But I would send them something, and then when you follow up, you can just make sure that they received it. Say, I sent this off to you. Did you get it? I mean, that's usually the first part of the follow-up script. So that's how I would approach the follow-up.
Okay, very good. Okay, well that pretty much we're out of time here now. That's great. I'd like to thank everyone for coming on the call. Thanks, Christy. You did a great job today. Lots of good questions. I think I got most of them answered. If I didn't get questions or I still have questions, what's the best way for people to get a hold of us?
Best way is to call. Our 1-800 number is up here on my screen on the top right. 1-800-361-9527. You can also email us support@successwebsite.com. Again, if you're really interested in the management component of our service, you can fill out the form on this page. You can also go to the Success Web Care, which is something I should also post in the chat section there. But this is where you could create a ticket and get in touch with our support team, so everything is tracked and you know the status of your request, and you can also access our knowledge base here as well. So that is Success Web Care, and that's where I'm going to be posting the checklist as well.
Okay, so successwebcare.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody. Hopefully we'll see a bunch of you in Anaheim at the Super Conference this weekend. If people want to book their appointment there, again, it's successwebsite.com/live consultation. Book a time and we'll be there to see you. Even if you don't get a time, by all means come by, say hi. We'd love to chat with you. And until then, remember our next internet helpline call is the second Monday in, I guess it's October now. So that'll be great. And until then, I guess everybody have a great day. Go sell some homes, and hopefully we'll see you in Anaheim. Thanks again.